So, um, so far, like we have gone through with like JavaScript, introduction of Playwright code concept, going through with context and browser context and page fixer. We have written like multiple tests till now, locators supported by Playwright, different types of spatial locators that Playwright has given. We have also gone through with most of the methods that Playwright has. Few of the basic things, which is like fill, click, getting the text using the text content. We have also seen like how the weight mechanism work in Playwright. We have validated drop-down radio button checkbox. We have also seen like how Playwright inspector works. We have also seen like in terms of whenever we run the test test using the UI part, how the trace viewer works, but it will again, I'll give the demo for these two in the later section. We have to see like how do we handle dynamic elements, then dynamic drop down, and we'll write an end-to-end assertion, end-to-end scripting in the next session. Before that, we have also seen like how Playwright UI runner works, what are the different types of like spatial locators that Playwright has given. Few of the things, alerting and pop-up handling we have already seen earlier. Hidden element validation, frames validation. These are the two things. And then we have one more thing left out is child window. Like how do we handle the child windows using Playwright? So in today's session, we'll talk about how do we handle child windows, how do we handle frames, and if time permits, we'll go for checking like how do we assert like whether the element is hidden in the page or not. Okay. So let's start with the session, and then uh, we'll create a new file which will give a name as, let's say, window.spec.js. Okay. So in general, what happened in terms of window like multiple window handling or child window handling is let's try to check like how it is happening in terms of manually first, and then we can move to the automation how it is happening. So in terms of manual, if we try to check, we have, let's say we have this application and there is a link, which is this one. This is one of a link which says that free access to some of the things. So if you click on this, this will basically open a new tab. So if you click on this, this will open a new tab, and then there will be a lot of other things in this particular page, right? So in general, in manual testing, how it is happening. So we'll be launching this particular URL, and then we click on this link, right? Now, in manual testing as well, whenever you click on this, this will open a new tab, and you have to specifically move to the new tab to do any kind of actions. So let's say if you have to validate documents request heading or text is available on this particular page or not after moving to the new tab. So how will we start like testing for this is like we'll have to launch this particular URL, then click on this. And now if you try to see on this particular this particular tab itself, if you try to check document request is available in the new tab opened or not, it is not possible, right? That means till now, till clicking on this, our focus is on this particular window. Now to validate inside the new tab, we have to, in manual testing also, we have to specifically move to the new tab and then control the handle. That means then we can check it out and validate document request text is available on this page or not, right? So for this, in terms of manual testing also, we have to move specifically to the newly open tab, and then we have to validate, right? We cannot validate like document request directly from here. That means it is saying that initially, like before clicking on this link, we had the complete control on this, like this application or the URL that we have launched originally. And now whatever we have to validate in the next, we have to specifically move to the new tab. That means take the control of this new tab, and then we can be able to do any kind of things. Again, if you want to do any other operations on the previous tab, like originally open tab or page, then we have to again move back to the originally open. Okay, so this is how the algorithm works, right? So how does the algorithm work first? So it happens in like we have to launch a URL. You have to launch a URL. Okay. And after launching the URL, we basically have to click on the link to open the new tab. Click on the link which will open the new tab. Then we basically have to move to this next tab, which is like after that, like we have to move the focus to the new tab to do any actions on the newly opened tab or window. Both will be same. Again, if you have to again if we have to do some kind of action on the originally open page, we have to move the focus from newly open tab by window to original tab by window. Okay, so what it says is like firstly, in any testing scenarios, we have to launch a URL. Then if we have a link which will open a new tab, we have to click on the link that will open a new tab, and we have to move the focus to the new tab to do any kind of actions. If our focus will still be on the originally open tab or page, then we'll not be able to do any kind of actions on the newly open tab, because at the time of launching or at the time of starting the automation, our test script or the framework basically will have an understanding of the originally open page itself. And whenever we have to move our focus to whenever we have to do any kind of actions on the newly open tab or windows, at that point of time, we have to switch the focus from original to newly open tab or windows. If our focus will still be on the original, as we like, have gone through over here, let's say if our focus is still on this page, we will not be able to see any kind of things from this page, and will not be able to automate any of the actions on this particular page. Okay. So in any case, in manual testing also, we'll have to move our focus from the main tab to the newly open tab to check in or to verify anything over in the new tab. Okay. So this is how the algorithm works, where we have to move the focus, and then if you have to again come back to the originally open tab or window, then we have to again move our focus from newly tab to originally open tab. Okay, so let's say how do we handle this? So how do we handle child window automation using Playwright? Okay. So we know that first things we have to do is like to import our test script. That means import our test module, like Playwright module. So how do we do that is we have to start with declaring a variable, and then we say like require. What do we require is a Playwright module, Playwright test module. Okay. Now we know like how do we write the how do we start writing the test? So we'll use the test function, and then we'll say like let's say child window handling is the test case name, and here we have to give a fixture and then starter particulars to write the test script. Now we have to use async over here. Right. So till now we have seen like two of the fixture, which is like page and other is browser. Right. So this is one, another is browser. Now see what happened, but whenever we use page as a fixture, it says that let's do this. So it says that this whenever we use page fixture, it will automatically be able to create browser context as well as new page, right? So we know with like whenever we have to use like let's say I'm just trying to use. So it says that whenever we use a page fixture, basically it says that that means it will automatically create the browser context and the new page inside the browser. So what happened in general is, let's say, whenever we launch a URL, right? Whenever we use page fixture says that I'll automatically initiate a browser, like instantiate a browser, and then we'll create a new page over here. So what is meant by new page? Whenever it will open a new tab, or at the time of launching the browser, we'll have a fresh page opened over here, right? This is known as one page. Again, if you click on new tab, there will be another page will open on the browser, right? So whenever we use page fixture, it says that I'll automatically create a browser context. That means browser instantiation will automatically be done, and also a new page will also be created on the browser. Okay. This is what page fixture says. We have discussed earlier as well. I hope like you people are getting what I'm trying to say. So whenever you use page fixture, by using page fixture, we can directly, it will automatically, like Playwright will automatically be able to take care of browser context initiation. That means uh, creation of browser context and a new page inside a browser, right? And other is, which is known as browser. So whenever we use browser, we basically have to manually create a browser context and also a new page. So how do we do this is by using browser dot new context. So browser dot new context. Okay. So if you hover on this browser, it says that browser instance is shared between all the tests in the same worker. This makes test, however, test case is isolated with browser context and get a fresh environment. That means whenever we use browser fixture, at that point of time, we have to manually create a new context for a browser, And also we have to manually create a page, right? So what happened over here is, whenever we create a new context, it will basically create a new browser context without having any cookies or cache, and it will also return a browser context, right? That means it is saying that I'll create a new browser context and will return the same. So do you see like promise over here? So promise is an object in JavaScript which is used to return either resolved status or rejected status. So what is meant by resolved status is, if the action is successful, then it will say like, okay, we have resolved, and then it will return whatever it is, it has to return using the step. If it is rejected, that means if there are any failure, then it will reject the steps. So that means, let's say if it is unable to create the browser context, at that point of time, it will return a failure message. Okay. So it says that whenever we create a new context, I'll return a browser context over here, and that we generally store inside a context variable, right? And now if we have to create a new page, how do we do is, we create a new page using context, right? We do not create a page using browser, right? We do not create page using browser. We basically create a page on the browser context, not on the browser. Browser fixture over here is basically used to create a context. That means instantiate or basically instantiate a browser. Whatever the browser we are trying to use, it will instantiate. That means it will just open a browser, which will be again a session kind of, like browser session is trying to open using browser new context. Okay. Now on this context, on this particular browser, wherever it is opening a context, there on that particular context, we are trying to create a new page. And how do we create a new page? Using a new page method of browser context. Okay. Trying to understand over here?
Yes, Praveen.
Yes, Praveen.
Okay. So we generally define in this way. So we define like whenever we use a browser fixture, we basically create a new browser context manually, and again we create a new page in the browser context manually. So the page is always being created on the context part. Okay. If we use page over here, we know that it will automatically do these two lines of operations, and we do not have to manually declare it. So if you see this, this says that it isolates page instance created for each state, and it is shared among all the tests. What is meant by this is, it says that I'll automatically be able to create a new context as well as new page inside a context. Okay. So basically we have already discussed this a lot of time, but why I'm trying to discuss here is, earlier in the initial stage, we had basically a question saying that when can we use page fixture and when can we use a browser fixture, right? So there are two instances when like, let's say there are two instances basically when we use browser fixture. One is if you have to launch a browser using some preset value. Let's say if you want to send some kind of cookies, if you want to send some kind of cache value or some kind of proxy value, or let's say if you have logged in and received the token, and if you want to directly log in or bypass the login at the time of launching the application. So we can provide the token, like authorization token here inside the new context, so that it will open a browser. And if it says like, if it sees basically like the token have been given over here, then it will automatically be, skip the login part and so on. That will also discuss when we discuss regarding the API. So if some prefix value we have to, some prefilled value or some kind of value that we have to store at the time of launching the browser or creating the browser context, that point of time, if you want to share like cache, cookies, any kind of token, authorization code, or proxy value, then we can basically use the browser fixture at that point of time. If we do not require anything, let's say if we have to declare it empty at that point of time, most of the time we can directly use page fixture. This is one condition where we have to declare using browser fixture. Second condition is, let's say you are trying to handle a child window, right, or multiple windows. So either child windows or multiple windows. What happened at that point of time is, whenever you create, whenever we create a multiple tab or multiple windows, what is that? That is basically a new page, right? That is, in general, if you create a multiple tab, right? What is this? Like, these are different pages. Like, these are different new pages. This is one page, this is another page, and this is another page inside a browser, right? So pages we are creating on the context, like browser context, right? We are not directly creating page by using a page fixture. Basically, new page is being created on the browser, which is like a browser context, right? So here, if you see, whenever we have to create a new page, we are creating on the context by using the variable that we have stored at the time of creating the browser context, right? So on that particular context, we are trying to create a new page, not directly on the browser by using browser.newPage. Okay. And whenever we store any of the value over here inside a variable, now this page will have every control. By using this page variable, we will be able to do some kind of actions and like whatever the method that we have in terms of Playwright, we will be able to use page variable to automate those things. Okay. This is what we had seen till now whenever we use browser. If you use page, we can directly use page fixture, and by using page fixture, we'll be able to use all the methods of the Playwright. Okay. So whenever we have to handle a multiple page, basically pages will be created on the browser context. Okay. That's where we have to use a browser fixture. Whenever we see like we have to handle a multiple tab or multiple windows, we have to use a browser fixture, because here we have to create a context manually, and we have to create a new page manually, because we know that whenever there will be a situation in our test scenario or test script that it has to open a new window or new tab. Okay. Whenever there will be a situation that it has to open a new window or new tab, it will basically open a new page on the browser context, not directly on the page fixture that we try to write. So if we directly use page fixture at that point of time, we might not be able to handle in this particular way. Okay, because we know that the new page will be created on context, browser context, not directly on the page fixture that we'll be using. Able to understand why I'm trying to explain these two concepts?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, great. So now see, how do we handle child windows? So we know, like, first we have to launch the URL, then we have to click the link in to handle the child window or multiple windows. For that, we'll be using this particular application, and we know that how do we have to launch the URL is page.go to is a method. What is page? If you are using page fixture, then it will be directly a page fixture. If you are using browser, then the page variable will have control of the originally page or new page that it is opening at the time of initiating the browser. Okay, so we have to write it like page.go to, and now we basically have to click on this URL, this link. So just try to write a locator which says that we have href So if you say like, let's say href star equals to, let's say we have last name as documents hyphen request. So it is document hyphen. Right. So it is able to identify this particular. What did I do here?
One second, Praveen. href star why we kept there?
Right. I'm trying to explain that itself.
Yeah, okay, fine.
So why did I put star over here is when a star symbol is known as wildcard. It is also known as a regex kind of, okay, regular expression. So it says that whenever you see there are something which is matching on the, let's say if href is this one, right, https so on so ending with document hyphen request. Now it says that when if you do not want to use everything of an attribute, everything like these kind of like all the values of an attribute, you can basically use star and then give the contains part of the values. Okay, so this star will basically find out like whatever the value that you try to provide, this star will be able to find out if there is a value for the href which consists of this value or not. So here if you see, it says that href equals to .com/documents hyphen request, right? So if you
Praveen,
give
but in general, suppose some value is there, big value is there. So partial value, if you are taking after that, we are putting the star, not in the that
exactly,
tag. Okay.
exactly. If you are trying to identify an element using the partial value, then you can put it star. If you just remove star, then it will not be able to identify. If you use star, then it says that you can give a contains part, like substring part of the values that you see on the page. Okay, that is if for an element. Did you understand this?
No, my question is, suppose if you are putting the start, suppose the value HTTP something is there, okay, Rahul take it, okay. So if you want to take the partial value, after that value, in general, we will take the star. Star means something is there after this value also, okay. We are not giving into the tag name, correct?
We are not giving into the tag name. Okay, yes.
Uh,
So that will basically happen in the SQL part.
okay, 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 okay.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
Whenever you have to put it, like you'll be basically putting here before that you have to put it star, and then this will make as a like, okay, ending with this kind of things, right? That will happen in the SQL. Whereas
Okay.
whenever you have to write any locators, what you can do is you can use an attribute and star and then give some kind of substring of the value. Okay. So
Okay.
here, when I select substring, I'm just trying to put like documents hyphen request. Okay. If you just provide over here like this one, which is like Rahul Shetty Academy, this will also be able to accept. So we say like, see, you see this, I've just given this kind of value, but it is able to identify. So it says that whenever you have to identify an element using a partial text, at that point of time, you can use star, not
So
only on the
it
href, but on
yeah.
any of the attribute of an element.
So suppose class name is having means big name, okay. So by the time also we can keep this one, okay. Class name
Right,
or target something some other attribute.
right. So if you see here, you can directly give something like text. See, here the class name is blinking text, right? I've just given class star some values of the class name. If you just write, let's say blinking, it will be able to identify the same value. Okay, so whenever you see like there are certain things which you do not want to write in a complete format, complete value, at that point of time, you can basically use star symbol, which will accept a substring or partial text of an attribute.
Got it, Praveen.
Okay, So that is why we use star symbol on the attribute to say that, like, I'm trying to identify an element which is having some kind of text or which contains the value that we are trying to provide after the equal symbol. Okay, so let's try to write this out. So how do we write is dot locator? We know that there is a method called as locator which is used to identify an element, and now we have to click on this, right? And we know, like, click method is used to click on an element, right? Now what happened over here is, whenever there will be a new page created in terms of uh, any of the tools or technology that you use, JavaScript will make a call for an event known as page. Okay, so whenever there will be whatever the action we do, there will be an event call happen on the web application. That means even if we click on the click button, even if we click on any link or any button, there will be an event call happen for clicking operation. Okay, on the browser or on the application. Now, whenever there will be a new tab created or a new page will be created. So let's say I'm trying to close this tab, right? What I'm doing is I'm just trying to close. So there will be an event call happen, which will say that, okay, there is a close call happen on the page. Now, let's say if you're trying to open new window, at that point of time, there will be an event call happen. So the web page is basically consist of the different types of events, right? So whenever you create a new tab, at that point of time, there will be an event, like new event will call, then that event will be known as a page event. That means it is saying that we are trying to create a new page inside the browser. Okay, and inside any of the browser that we are trying to use. Okay, so whenever we create a new tab, at that point of time, there will be an event called which is known as a page. Okay. So here what we are trying to do is we are basically clicking on this particular link, which is opening a new page, right? So if you click on this link, this will open a new tab, new page. So that means one of a call will happen, one of a event will be uh, thrown, which is known as which is known as a page event. Okay, I'll show you what is that page event. Just give me a minute. So wait for event, which is page. So you say this one, I've just given wait for event and page event. So it says that the event is emitted when a new page is created in the browser context. So whenever there will be a new page, new tab or new window will be created, at that point of time, there will be an event call or event will be fired, which will be known as a page event. That means it is trying to say us that there is like we have tried or the code have tried to create a new page wherever it has clicked on. Okay, so how do we handle those new pages? So in general, internally JavaScript will call a event which is known as a page. Now we have to call, whenever we have to handle a new like child window or multiple tabs, at that point of time, we basically have to call this context saying that wait for an event whenever there is a page event being called on. At, like, we know that whenever a new page will be created, a event called page will appear. Page will occur on the application. So we are saying here, wait for an event when a page event is appearing. And once the page event is appearing, this page event or this wait for event will basically return us a promise of page. That means it is saying that if we are able to identify that there is a page event appeared on the browser. Okay, if the page event have been emitted when a new page is created. At that point of time, if we are able to identify in the test, then we'll return you a page promise. What is meant by page promises? It is saying that we'll return you a page handle for the new page. Okay, that means I'll return you that new page have been created. If it is successful, if it is failure, then it will return us a failure error. That means rejected, saying that we were unable to create we did not find any time that the page event occurred in the test, or either in the test script, or there was no event call for the page event. If it is say if it is like the new page have been appeared and it is able to identify that, okay, there was a event emitted which is known as a page event, at that point of time it will return us a page. Okay, that means a page object kind of. Getting the point? So it is similar to whenever we create a new page, we basically return us it basically return us a new handle, which is again a page new page context. It says that create a new page in the browser context. In the same way, wait for event will try to check is there any time in the code page event is there any page event happening in the browser or not. Okay, any confusion over here for this particular line that I was trying to explain?
No problem.
No problem.
Okay. So we know that this context dot wait for event, whenever we say page, it will return us a new page, right? It will return us basically a promise, which is known as a page. So let's say I'm saying as page 1 over here. Okay. Now we know that, and since beginning onwards, I'm saying we have to use async and await on each and every line. Okay. Let's say we are trying to use await keywords over here as well. So why do we use await keyword and async is to make our code work in a synchronized fashion. That means work one by one. Like all the steps will be working one by one. First, this step will be generated, then it will go to this one, and so on, right? Here, let's say if we are trying to use await concept. If we do not use await concept, that means we know that there might be a chances that this particular line will be called at first instance. That means whenever we run a test case at that point of time, probably this line, which is line number 21, will be called as first. Might be there is an instance that it might called as first. Okay. Now, if we use await, what the issue will happen is it will create a browser context, that is fine. It will create a new page, that is also fine. It will launch a URL. After creation of new page, it will launch a URL and wait for the response of whether the URL have been launched in the browser or not. Then we are trying to click on link. Now, when we click on a URL, which is trying to open a new page, as soon as we click on the URL, it will emit a page event. That means it will say that a page event has already appeared by clicking on the new tab, by clicking on the link, which is opening the new tab. We know that by clicking on the link, it will open a new tab. That is why we are trying to handle multiple windows, right? So with this step, we know that there will be a page event occurred. And as soon as it appeared the page event, then we'll go to the next step, right? On this particular step, this line says that I am still waiting for the wait for event of a page, because page event have already called on this. And we have waited for, the response of this particular line and then move to the next line. So it says that page event have already appeared in the previous step itself. And now we are waiting for new page event to, now we are still waiting for, wait for an event where page page event will be called. So this line will get stuck over here and it will keep on waiting for a new page event to fire in the on the browser. Okay, so if we use await, getting the point? So whenever we use await, each and every line will be run in a synchronized fashion. So this line will run, and then this line, upon clicking on the link, it will basically fire a page event. And then after firing the page event, then it will move to the next line. So this next line says that I am still waiting for the page event. Whatever the page event have appeared in the previous step, it has already been completed. Now I'm still waiting for the page event to appear on the page. And it will keep on waiting for the page event to appear because we have given await condition. And once this successfully, give us a response, at that point of time only, it will go to the next step, whatever the next step we have to do. But let's say if we do not use await, there might be a chances that it can run in the first instance. Okay. And there might be a chances that it can run after click happening on this, on the previous run. But we know that if you do not use await, then it can, I mean, it is not 100% possible, but it can run our code and this particular line at the first line of the test script. We know that if you do not use await, right? So, so here what will happen is, okay, this test started running. Now, let's say it started running with this particular context. Okay. So it says that, okay, there is no page event occurred on the page. Okay. So what it will do is it will wait for page event to appear, but it will not stop running the next line because we have not given the await condition. Okay. That means it will keep on waiting. See, it will keep on waiting for the promise. So if you see like this promise has a three condition. One is pending, other is resolved, and other is rejected. So if it is pending, that means it will keep on checking whether a page value page event have appeared on the browser or not. Okay, it will keep on checking. Meanwhile, all the steps will go one by one. Like this will create a browser, this will create a new page, this will launch the URL. As soon as this step is getting clicked, or as soon as this step is getting executed, at that point of time, a new page event will be fired, and this will return a success, which is like resolved status of the promise. That means it will say that, okay, page event have appeared, and now I have stored inside this page one. Okay, getting the point?
Yes, Praveen.
Yeah. Right. Just let me know if you're stuck anywhere in terms of understanding. So as I said, like there might be a chances that it can run at first instant, or it can also run at after the click. So if it is running after the click, then there is no point of running this one. If it is running at the first instance, then also like it will just try to check whether the page event is appearing on the browser or not. So it's always better to keep this particular line just before we click on the browser. We click on the link. Now what happened is, here also we do not have to use await condition. Here the situation will be either it can run at the first line of the code, or if it is going in a synchronized fashion, then it will run after launching the URL. So if it is running at the first as a first line, then it will keep on checking, okay, if there is a page event appeared on the screen, on the browser. It will not find, then it will create all these things, locate for this. It is still waiting for the page event to appear. Now after this line, a page event will appear, and it will return us a resolved status of the, that means a new page have been created, a page event have appeared. Okay. So
Praveen, that page will appear after clicking on the operation, okay? That line
right,
number 21.
right, right. Yes.
So why can't we are giving into after that line and we are keeping that await means it will go to synchronization only directly, okay?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
why
So
we
you are
keeping
saying
in
that
between? Yeah,
you
yeah.
are saying
Why we are
that like
keeping
this.
in between these because if it is coming after the 21 line only, then why we are giving inside in between those
So
two
you are
lines?
saying you are
Correct,
saying like this, right?
correct.
Right. So on this line, a page event will already have appeared, right? So page event, as soon as you click on the URL or click on the link, page event will already be created here. Page event will already be appeared because we know that clicking on the link will create a new tab, right? So this line knows that there is a page event happened. Now everything have been completed successfully. New tab have been created, and now it is moving to this particular line, which is line number 22nd. Here it is still wait for page event. It is saying that I'll wait for page event to appear. Now in your code, if there is any chances, that on this particular line there is another page event happening, then only it will identify that a page event have appeared. On this particular line, a page event have already appeared, as it is a synchronized fashion, as we have made it in a synchronized. So this line will completely be success, and then only it will move to the next line, right? Understanding? So as soon as we click on a URL or click on a link, it will emit a page event. So as soon as we click on a link, which is like opening the new tab, it will emit a page event. And this step will not have knowledge because it has to complete everything before moving to the next line, right? This step will not have knowledge that page event have appeared because the page event have already appeared on the previous step. Now we are saying that after after the page event have already appeared, now we are saying that wait for a page event to appear.
Got it. Got it.
Understanding?
Yes.
So if you do not use await, that means it will keep on checking whether the page event have appeared on the page or not. It will every time it will keep on checking as soon as it get called. Okay. So we know that it might get called at the first step or it might get called at after this line. So if it is getting after this line, then there is no use. If it is getting at the first line, then it will keep on checking for the page event to appear. That is why for the safer side, we have used this page event to appear on this particular line. So what happened over here is like just before clicking on in terms of whenever we go for in test automation, whenever there will be a new page or new tab will be created, we will be knowing that where on which step it will be created, right? So just before that step, we have to declare this. Why we are trying to declare over here is, let's say if it is getting called at the first line as a test case, then also it will keep on checking for the wait for event, which is like page to appear on the page. And as soon as it find, it will return us some value. If it is getting called at line number 20 as well, from here also it will keep on waiting for a event, which is page. And as soon as we click on the link, a page will be created and it will automatically be able to handle that because we have not used await. So if you use await, then it will get stuck over here saying that I am waiting for page event, and after 30 seconds, the test case will fail. Okay, if you use await keyword here as well, because it is saying that I have to fulfill the promise, I have to resolve the status, complete this particular line, and then only I have to move to the next line. If you do not use await, then it will say that, okay, I'm just listening for the wait for event. Wherever it appeared in the test script, I'll be able to resolve this event, which is page. Okay. Okay, I hope you understood till here.
Yes.
Okay. Now we are saying that we have clicked on a link. That means a page event have already fired. And as soon as the page event have already been called on the website or application, then it will return us some of the successful value. That value we have to store inside another variable, which is known as, which I have given as a new page. Now, why this line? When we have used like await, we did not use await over here. That means this line, this context dot wait for event will keep on waiting for the page event to fire in the application or the browser. Now, as soon as after clicking on the link, as soon as it create a new page or new tab, it will have an idea that a new page have been created, right? Now we have to await. Now we basically have to await for this particular variable has to give us a resolved status. That means it has to say that, okay, a new page have been already created. And now we are trying to return you a new page handle, which I am trying to store inside new page variable. That is why we have used await, so that this line will have to be finished before moving to the next line. We know like why do we use await? That means that particular line has to be completed before moving to the next line. Here we have not used await because we are saying that the page event can appear at any point of time after clicking on the link. So it is keep on checking for the page event to appear on the browser. Now, as soon as we clicked on this, we know that there is a new tab have been created. That means a new page event have been fired. As soon as the new page event have been fired, it will return us a resolved status. Now we are saying here that wait till we get the new page being created or new page, the page event have been fired and it is returning us a resolved status. Okay, because we know that in the previous step, it will create a new page. Understood this line?
Yes, Praveen.
Yes, Praveen.
Okay. So here we are waiting to this particular step to be completed because we know that we are like just before the previous line will be creating a new tab. That is why we are trying to wait over here that this particular line now has to complete because it has already created a new tab over here, and then only move to the new like next line. Now we know that here the new page have been created and we have stored inside a variable which is known as new page. Now, whatever the action we have to do, we have to use new page as a control or variable. We do not have to use page because this page is having the knowledge of only the originally open page. Whatever the variable that we have created over here to store the new page handle or the resolve part of the new page, that means it is returning as a new page. Wherever we have stored or whatever the variable we have used, using that variable, we have to do some kind of validation in the new page. Okay, I'll just take couple of minutes and then we'll finish it off the session. Okay, so this basically, explaining this should not have taken more than 20 minutes, but it is always better to understand all the preconditions, like why do we use browser fixture, then why do we use this, where do we have to basically write this, why do we not have to use await, and so on. Okay, so now let's say our validation is just to validate whether this document request is appearing on the new page or not. Okay, we know that on the original page it is not having anything known as document request, right? So we have to validate over here. Now let's try to identify this element, and it says that document request. So let's say we know that if there is a h1 tag, that the role of that h1 tag will be a heading. So we can also use this as await. We have to use now new page, not the page, because we are working on the other tab now, other window or other page now. So we can say like get by role. What is the role? The role is heading because it has it is developed using H1, H2, and H3. And if there is, you see like H1, H2, H3, and so on, then the role of that particular tag or the element will be a heading. Okay. So we are using get by role heading, and then we are trying, there might be a multiple heading. So we are saying that filter it out using name of document request. Filter the heading having a name or the text as name : document request. So we are trying to identify the heading which is having name as document request. And now we are saying it has to be visible. So is visible we have to use. Also, we know that is visible is not appearing, is not falling for the default wait time. So what is meant by that? So if you see this one, it is saying that, if you see this one, it is saying that the auto waiting concept will only be applicable for all these methods, which is like check, click, double click, tap, uncheck, hover, fill, clear, select option, select text, focus, press sequentially, and set input files. Okay, so only on these methods it will be the auto waiting concept will be appear. We do not see anything known as is visible over here. So if it is not visible, if it is not, if any of the method is not available inside the auto waiting concept of the Playwright, then for this particular things we have to basically define a customized waiting. So how do we do a customized waiting is we have a method known as wait for. Okay. If you just use a wait for method, it says that we have to wait for an element, which is this one, to display in the page, and next, and then go to the, then move to the next page. So here we can write the similar things, which is like is visible. What we are trying to say here is using wait for method, it says that it returns when element specified by locator satisfies the state option. That means it is saying that it will wait for an element to load or to appear in the page. So here we are, why are we using this wait for is because is visible does not appear for the auto waiting of the Playwright. Okay, that is why we have to use, like we have to wait for an element to appear on the page. And how do we write that script is using the wait for method. Wait for method is a method which is used to wait for an element on the page, whatever the locators that you have written. For that particular element, it will wait and then it will go to the next. And now we know that this is visible will either return us a true or false. So let's say if we are saying result, it will either return us a true or false. Now, if you have to do an assertion, you can say that say result, expect result. That means validate this is true or not. We know that it will definitely give us a true. It will return us a true value if the element is visible. Our goal is to validate whether this element is visible on the page or not. And we know that this particular element is appearing on the page. So we should be in a position that to say this will be this value, whatever it is declaring, should have to be a true. And that is why we are trying to validate over here using expect result to be true thing. Okay, we have explained, we have gone through many times like with this. So you might be knowing like why are we using this one, right? Okay, so let's see if there is any testing child over here. Then do we have any only part? No. Okay, so let's try to give it over here, which is, so let's try to run this particular test case and see if it is working or not. Dot. Okay, so at the end, we are just trying to validate whether this result is having a true value or not. Let's try to run and see if it is able to identify the if it is able to automate this or not. We can do any other operation. For now, I'm just trying to check if the document request is appearing or not. So if you say like npx playwright test, let's see what is happening. It has opened, it clicked on, and it is waiting for an element to appear, and it had successfully passed. Okay. If you see this, it is saying passed. Now let's try to see the same in the test runner. So whenever we say like test runner, open one, this is the one, child window handling. Now I'm trying to run over here. We can debug like step by step by just running it up. So what happened here, just see, like, you know, in each line it will say like what is this, which step is trying to run and so on, and status we see as a passed. So now see, like what happened before was nothing, after you launch the URL. Now here it is waiting for the event. So if it is waiting for the event, it will not give us any kind of value. It is waiting for an event to get a new page called. Here it is saying that here it is saying that it is waiting for the next page to load. So if you see this, that means it has loaded over here, which is like after clicking on the link, it has loaded over here, and then we are saying wait for an event to load, and then whether it is visible or not. Okay, so everything we can check one by one on this particular on the test runner by going through each and every line of the code. Okay, so understood the things. So it says that, see, it is saying that I'm waiting for a browser event, and now it is trying to click on this one. Okay, so that means it is saying that I am waiting for an event. It keeps on happening. It is still happening. As soon as it clicked on here, it found a new page have been created, and then it came out from this particular line. So you can see like these two are happening at the same time. The wait for event is keep on checking whether the pages have appeared or not, and then as soon as it clicked on this one, then it started. Then basically it found the page event and it moved to the next line where it is waiting for the other page. Okay, so any confusion in this part? Okay. So that is it for then today. We'll continue in the next session for other concept that we have, and then we'll